Hi, I'm Amy.
And I'm Neil.
And we are
Nerds Over 40.
Welcome back.
Hola, Nerdmigos.
So happy to see you again.
Episode 3.
Yep. Today we're talking about
Superman.
But before we do that, I wanted to show one thing. On occasion, we're going to show our nerd purchase of the week, and I would like to share my nerd purchase of the week. This is a little golden book. Anyone who is a nerd over 40 probably had little golden books at one point, but this just came out brand new. It is an X-Files little golden book. I believe it was $5.99 on Amazon. Highly recommend. And they have some other nerd golden books on the back. So they have a Star Wars, an Alien, Planet of the Apes. So if you want to have a little golden book nerd collection, who knew these were out here? I actually saw this on one of my X-Files groups on Facebook, and I was like, wait, where did that come from? I must have it. So as soon as I'm done here, I'm going to go put it on my nerd bookshelf.
I feel like we need all of them.
Okay, well, they're only $5.99, so let me know which ones you want.
So we've got A's for Alien, and then Star Wars, Planet of the Apes, a couple of Black Panthers. And if you're into Nightmare Before Christmas, they've got 3 of those. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of that. I might skip those, but the others, that looks like a great conversation piece to have on your bookshelf.
I think so, or on your coffee table.
That's the lightest coffee table book of all time.
So, highly recommend. Shout out to whoever wrote this. Adapted by Jeff Smith, illustrated by Ricardo Guerrero. Very nice. We went to see Superman Legacy this weekend, and we are going to spoil it. We are going to talk all about it. So please, if you haven't seen it yet and you don't want to be spoiled, we're going to talk about some older stuff first. We're going to go about 20 minutes talking about the older Superman properties, and we will give you a warning before we start talking about the new Superman.
And I would go see it. Go see it.
We're going to get to that, but yes, go see it. Also, we're going to...
What's wrong with you? You haven't seen it yet. It's Sunday. It came out 2 days ago.
Also, we're going to be spoiling all the other stuff. So, like the George Reeve Superman from the 50s. Some of the reruns I watched in black and white were I Love Lucy, Gilligan's Island. The first couple of seasons were black and white. And one of the shows I watched in black and white for the first couple of seasons was The Adventures of Superman. And that was played by George Reeves. Did you watch it?
Now, was that in syndication at that point? Were those reruns?
Yes.
Or, okay.
I wasn't born in the 50s. I'm not a nerd over 100.
Oh.
But if you are, welcome.
Shots fired.
It ran from 1952 to 1958. So it was in syndication. In LA, there were a lot of stations that played reruns, and KTLA, I believe, was one of them, and I think that's where Superman was. But yeah, I watched it in syndication, and for the first couple of years, it was in black and white, and then it was in color. Also, he appeared as Superman, or the actor who played Superman, on an episode of I Love Lucy. Do you remember that?
I do not.
Lucy got herself stuck out on a ledge, and she'd been fangirling over him, and then somehow wound up on the ledge. I don't remember. It was a long time ago. And he went out and saved her. He didn't fly up. He climbed out on the ledge with her.
She didn't steal him from Lois Lane, huh?
She did not steal him. Well, she had Ricky. Why would she want Superman?
I think I may have watched the George Reeve version maybe a couple of times. The one my first memory, they had an old cartoon and it played very early in the mornings. And this was a long time ago. This was back before my family had a VCR even. So we didn't, we had to wake up to see it. So I watched that a little bit. But then we will get into our next.
The animated Superman. One last thing about the George Reeves show. It ended not because it was canceled, but George Reeves apparently died from a gunshot to the head that they ruled suicide. So sad ending for that Superman. And as we know, there is a future Superman that also had a sad ending, and we'll get to that in a moment. But the next Superman I remember seeing when I was a kid was the Super Friends. Did you
I
watch
don't
the Super
I don't
Friends?
think you could be Gen X and have a television and not watch Super Friends on Saturday mornings.
Yes. 1973 to 1985. I had no idea it went that long.
You know, I think one of the worst things about becoming an adult is no more Saturday morning cartoons. I mean, don't
You can watch them on YouTube now.
I guess. Well, you can get
It's
them.
not the same though.
No, it was. So, those of you who are old enough, you remember when like Friday nights television was. There was actually good television on Friday nights, right? This was before
The
the
Dukes,
VCR.
right?
Dukes of Hazzard, Dallas. Saturday nights, not so much. That's when the Love Boat came on.
Hey, I like the Love Boat.
But Saturday morning cartoons.
Happen on the Love Boat.
God, you can tell how far out of whack my priorities were as a kid, because sometimes my brother and I would get up so early for cartoons that the farmer they had, where we were living was a little bit rural, and they had like
Yeah, there were no farmers where I was.
they had a show like about it was a news show for the farmers, and it was on Saturday morning like at 6.
Yeah, no, that was not a thing in Los Angeles, but okay. Yeah, you get your bowl of cereal. What kind of cereal were you having?
Oh, so all the sweet ones, the worst cereals.
My
Captain
parents
Crunch.
rarely would buy me sweet cereal. It was usually like cornflakes, Special K, Cheerios. Occasionally I could talk them into Frosted Flakes.
Yet another example of why CPS should have been called on your parents.
Right? I see you, Mom.
Fortunately for us, she could never figure out the computer to
Hey
turn into
now,
this.
I sent her the link. She'll be fine.
Sorry, Jenny. I was totally kidding.
Anyway, we would my parents used to wheel, we had one TV in the house and it was in their bedroom, and they used to wheel the TV into my bedroom on Friday night. So Saturday morning they could sleep in, and I would get up and make myself a bowl of cereal and go back in and sit on the floor in my bedroom and watch Saturday morning cartoons.
That is the most thoughtful thing her parents ever did.
Will you stop?
No, that's amazing. I should have heard that story years ago.
Oh my God.
I think better of your parents for hearing that story.
And I was not watching the Farm Report. There was cartoons on from the time I woke up.
Well, LA is a little different from Amarillo, Texas.
Correct. But I loved watching the Super Friends. My favorite Super Friend was Wonder Woman. But other members of the Super Friends were Batman and Robin, Aquaman, who we all know Aquaman sucks, and hello here, the Wonder Twins.
Form of was like an ice something or other, and the other one would turn into
shape of water.
Yeah. One would be like water or ice,
Yeah.
and one would turn into an animal of some sort.
And they'd kick butt.
Yeah, they always had to have a bucket though to carry the other water around.
That seems problematic for a superhero, but I digress. I don't know who did most of the voices for that, but as many cartoons of that era, one of the people who did the voices was Casey Kasem. Do you know who Casey Kasem is?
Well, I cheated and looked.
You didn't know who Casey Kasem was?
I know Casey Kasem was, but I saw that he did Robin's voice.
He did Robin, and he did Jor-El, and he did a bunch of others.
Yeah.
He also did
Shaggy.
Yeah, he did on Scooby-Doo. He did Shaggy. If you don't know who Casey Kasem was, he was a very famous disc jockey, and he used to do a top 40.
He used to host American Bandstand too,
Yeah,
right?
I think so.
No, that was Dick Clark.
Dick Clark?
Yeah.
Yeah. But he hosted something on TV. I can't remember what. But yeah, he did the top 40.
Those guys
That's
both
what he was
lived
known
to be
for.
a million years old.
Yeah. So anyway, Super Friends.
Hey, off topic.
Yes.
You're related to somebody who did a little bit of film editing for Gilligan's Island and some
He
of those.
did. My grandfather was a film editor during the golden age of Hollywood. He worked for Columbia Pictures. His name was Al Clark. He was nominated for, I think, 4 Academy Awards.
He has an IMDb page.
He does have an IMDb page. I had no idea that he did Gilligan's Island. I was actually at a car dealership with my dad, and we were waiting for them to fill out the paperwork, which we all know if you ever bought a car, how long that takes. So we were in the waiting room, and there was an old black and white Gilligan's Island. And the credits came up, and there was my grandfather, who was my dad's dad. And my dad was like, "Oh, I had no idea he did some
That's
Gilligan's
an
Island."
awesome moment of serendipity
It
to
was
just
pretty
look up
cool.
and see
It was
that.
pretty cool. So more pressure on me when I'm editing these videos because it is in the family, so I don't want
She's
to.
like a thoroughbred.
I don't want to let my grandfather
Blood,
down.
yeah.
So bad news there. So anyway, next iteration of Superman comes in 1978, which is kind of in the middle of when Super Friends were on, and we got a movie starring Christopher Reeve.
One of the great superhero movies.
I went to see it
Yeah.
for my 9th birthday. That was I took one of my best friends, Jennifer, and we went to see Superman.
And how much of a cheat code is it to have John Williams doing your theme song?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a colossally stupid movie or move to make a Superman movie without incorporating that theme song. Unfortunately, James Gunn doesn't screw
I was
that
going
up.
to say, James Gunn doesn't screw up much in this next movie, and he did not screw up that.
But my God, I mean, Gen X, those of you out there who are Gen X, or even boomers, you got Star Wars, you got Superman, you got Indiana Jones, you got E.T., you've got the Harry Potter movies, you've got Jaws. I mean,
Schindler's List, which is beautiful.
Jurassic
for that.
Park. Oh my freaking God!
Well, if Spielberg made it, he hired John Williams to do it.
Well, that's because he's not stupid either.
Yeah, why would you? Awesome.
But just kids, think back when you're a kid and just. We were very fortunate, right, to grow up with those theme
Yes.
songs, right? I've got the Star Wars theme track or theme music on a album on vinyl,
a double vinyl
from
set
back in the day.
I had it too. I think everybody did. It was black with Star Wars across the
front.
front.
My aunt had it, and when she passed away, I saw it, and I was like, that is mine.
Yes.
But anyway, what?
So Christopher Reeve is Superman.
Christopher Reeve as Superman, and I mean, honestly, that's still probably the definitive Superman.
The one we measure the others against.
The one that the others are all measured against. I mean, he looked like Superman. He had the demeanor. He was made for that role.
He seemed just good. He seemed like a good person.
Well, what I was thinking about this the other day is he had a twinkle too, though.
Yeah.
There was a little good-natured mischief, in his eyes too. So he was, I don't know, and let's face it, he looked corn-fed too.
He did.
He was a strapping corn-fed, American, man.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I did when I was doing research for this podcast, because spoilers, I do a little bit of that. It's the Hermione in me. The whole superhero outfit with the underwear on the outside, do you know where that comes from?
Well, that's because the people who created Superman were fans of. They wanted him to be like a strong man or a wrestler,
in a
and
circus.
they wore their trunks on the outside.
Yeah, so that's where that came from.
And now the trunks are on the outside.
Unless you're in a Zack Snyder Superman.
Well, let's face it, wearing tights isn't the manliest thing you can do, period.
You'd look good in tights. You have the legs for it.
I look like the Michelin Man.
No.
That'd be awful.
If you want to see Neil in tights, put it in the comments.
No.
I'll make it happen.
Hey, OSHA's got rules against that sort of thing.
So anyway, Superman 1.
Which was great.
The origin story.
And let's talk about Gene Hackman a little bit.
I was going to talk about Marlon Brando, but you talk about Gene Hackman, and then I'll talk about Marlon Brando.
Gene Hackman was fabulous as Lex Luthor. And I'm going to contrast the new Lex Luthor to that one when we get to the movie. But, I mean, he was malicious, but he was funny at the same time.
He was having a great time being malicious.
Yeah, he was
laughing and
chewing that scenery.
Yeah, no, he was
Gene
having
Hackman
so
looked like
much
he was having
fun.
a good time.
He was having so much fun
I've
tearing
heard
it
he
up.
could be kind of grumpy on set, but he didn't look grumpy.
He didn't
when he
play
was
a
making
grumpy
that
Lex
movie.
Luthor.
No, he was very endearing as Lex Luthor. I really enjoyed it. And what was the name of the guy who was kind of his sidekick?
I don't know. I just remember the hoochie girlfriend he had.
Where was she from?
I don't know. Where was she
She's
from?
from Hackensack, New Jersey.
How do you know that?
Well, because that's where the second missile was launched in Superman 1. One was launched to start the earthquake in California, and he launched one the other direction at Hackensack, New Jersey, and that's where her mom lived. So
a nerd over 40, my friends. There he is. That's deep. But
and she made Superman in return for releasing him, she made him promise to go after that missile headed towards New Jersey first. So that's how Lois. Well, yeah, I was about to say spoilers, but it's.
We warned you there would be spoilers. You have been warned.
And that's how Lois ended up dying at the end, is because he had to go after the other missile first. But then, of course, he's Superman, and he fixed it. Which
in a kind of a sketchy way.
Well, I mean, he apparently is able to manipulate time,
Change the rotation of the Earth.
I'll tell you what, he's a hell of a lot better at it than the Flash. He got it right.
The Flash does it every 5 minutes, though.
What's that?
This is not on the Flash TV series.
He's going back a lot farther.
What are those things he creates all the time? The Flash.
Oh,
the time
flashpoints or
whatever.
I don't know.
We're not doing the Flash this episode, so we digress. Okay, Superman 2.
Yes, that was my favorite Superman. Maybe until now. I don't know.
Spoilers.
It might still be my favorite Superman. But with the three convicts, the generals,
Ursa, Zod, and Non. So how did they get out? How did they get freed from their glass prison?
Well, one of the missiles that Superman diverted blew up their, what did they call it? What was the name of the prison that they were in? It's got a very specific name. Oh,
I don't know.
I'm sure 5 minutes after we finish this, I'll remember.
They killed astronauts on the moon?
Yeah, they killed astronauts on the moon. That was their first act of
That seems like a shitty thing to do.
Well, they were kind of shitty people.
That is true.
Right?
Okay. And why was this worse for Superman than it could have been?
Well, because for love of Lois Lane.
For Nookie with Lois Lane.
Oh, he could have gotten that anyway.
I don't know. There's been a lot of, with the logistics, if you have super stuff and you're, having Nookie with a human, how that's going to affect it.
I think that's outside the scope of this show. Let's keep it family friendly here.
I'm sure there's some stuff on the internet that delves into that if you're interested.
Rule 34, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, well,
so he had lost his powers. He relinquished his powers through something in the Fortress of Solitude.
Fortress of Solitude. Yeah, he went into this chamber, and I think some red lights came on, and he came out as a regular human being.
Yeah. Got his ass kicked in a diner.
Well, like all newlyweds, they went to Niagara Falls.
That's right.
And he did get his butt kicked
in a diner
by some butthole in a diner.
And then when he got his powers back at the end, spoilers, he went back and kicked the guy's butt, which is kind of petty, actually.
Well, it's super petty, right? Well, it is super petty. But as a kid, you remember those one-liners. It's like, I've never seen garbage eat garbage before.
Right.
I don't think he punched him. I think that guy punched him and broke his hand when he punched Superman, and Superman picked him up.
Moving on, we got to get to the current one. Okay, so then there were 2 more Superman movies starring Christopher Reeves that were not so good. Superman 3, which had Richard Pryor in it, which is the only thing I remember about that movie.
What I remember about that is they were trying to synthesize kryptonite, and they had they broke it down. They did an elemental whatever analysis, and they were missing a couple elements. They're missing one element. And Richard Pryor was a smoker. He just looked at his pack of cigarettes at the ingredients, and he just chose tar. He just randomly put tar in as one of the missing ingredients. And so they did this dumb thing where they presented Superman with this it's supposed to be an award, right? And there's this big hunk of this green, not quite kryptonite. But it slowly turned Superman into not a bad guy, but kind of a mean drunk sort of guy. And
so is this like a 2-hour anti-smoking message that Superman 3 don't smoke? There's tar. It's bad for you.
But I do remember him, like he'd been drinking. He was in a bar. He looked in the mirror, didn't like what he saw, and so he lasered the
don't drink
mirror.
or smoke.
and he had peanuts. He'd lay out the peanuts and he'd
Okay,
flick
we
them.
have got to get to the current
Oh,
Superman.
okay.
Do not retell all of these
Sorry.
movies.
It wasn't good. I was saving you some time. You know, it was a bad.
Not a lot of time. Next, Superman 4. What is that?
Quest for Peace.
The Quest for Peace. So Superman decides he's going to get rid of all nuclear weapons and remove them from Earth. And Lex Luthor escapes from prison and decides to, mess up Superman's plan.
I don't really remember the plot. I may have only seen this one once, but
I think I only saw it once.
Even as a kid, I was like, that is super naive.
Yeah, it's not going to work well.
But anyway.
So those are the Christopher Reeve Supermans.
That was 1987?
Yes.
It was that late. Wow.
That's what the internets say.
Yeah, so I was a cynical teenager by the time that one
I graduated
came out.
from high school in 87.
Oh.
So I'm not sure. I think I saw it, but it doesn't really resonate too much.
Yeah.
And as we know, Christopher Reeve, after that, had a riding accident, fell off of his horse, was paralyzed, was an advocate for people who were in wheelchairs and with special needs, and eventually ended up dying, which was really sad.
There is a special on, is it on?
Yeah, it's called Superman, the Christopher Reeve story,
and
I believe.
It's pretty good. It's interesting, and it kind of deals with Christopher Reeve's warts and all.
Yeah.
Of course, he went to Juilliard, and he was Robin Williams' roommate.
He was Robin Williams' roommate.
Which is kind of amazing. You know, I think of two actors who had a huge impact on me as a kid, and those were two of the biggest.
They were, for sure. All right. So next came a TV show, which I watched, and I don't think you did, which was Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman.
No.
And that ran from 1993 to 1997. The Superman was played by Dean Cain. Lois was played by Terry Hatcher of Seinfeld. What did she say in Seinfeld?
They're real and they're spectacular.
They're real and they're spectacular. So if you know what she was talking about. And she was also a Bond girl in which Bond movie?
GoldenEye.
Yeah, with Pierce Brosnan.
Yes, I think that was the first Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah. So I watched it, and what it was about was really the romance between Clark and Lois. And there was a lot more Clark in that than Superman. It was really more about them working together and being reporters. Superman would show up and save the day in every episode, but it really delved more into Clark. And Clark was kind of a normal guy, less bumbling than Christopher Reeve played him, I thought. I liked it at the time.
I think it did pretty well. It had, I mean, what, 6, 7 seasons?
No, 4 seasons.
Oh, only
93 to 97.
Well, that's not a bad run.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. So next was Smallville, which ran from 2001 to 2011. Superman was portrayed by Tom Welling. I did not watch Smallville. All I know about it is a bunch of people in it went on to be in a cult. And I will let you talk about the rest of it.
One of them went to jail for it, too.
So I'll let you do the rundown of Smallville.
So I did watch it.
I don't have much to say.
I didn't watch the entire series. I kind of... It was harder to binge.
What was it about?
Back then. Well, it was about Superman as a teenager, really. And he and Lex Luthor appears in it. They were friends in the movie or the television show, which is kind of comic accurate.
Lois was in it, right?
Well, Lois doesn't show up till later. It's Lana.
Lana.
That was his original
Lois.
love interest before Lois. Obviously that didn't work out, but and there was a school paper, and anyway, I've got to say I enjoyed it, but it's so different now when you've got stuff on demand on cable. So even if you don't watch it on streaming, you can still go back and see it. I mean, most of us have a DVR, so we can record the show and watch it when it's convenient for us. But back then, those of you who are old enough, you miss an episode. It's easy to lose the thread on a show like that. But I watched it for probably 3-4 seasons or something. And
did you like Tom Welling as Superman?
Tom Welling was great. I was actually when they cast Brandon Routh in Superman Returns. I was a little disappointed because Tom Welling, I thought he was really good.
All right.
First of all, he looked a lot like Christopher Reeve, who, like I said, I think he's become the paradigm for Superman. And he had a great demeanor. So,
all right. So you mentioned Superman Returns with Brandon Routh. The year for that was 2006. So that hit right in the middle of when Smallville was airing. I have vague recollections of this one.
We saw it with your parents.
Okay, I still have vague recollections, but you want to run this down?
It had Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor.
Okay.
And I thought he was pretty good. I don't remember who played Lois Lane.
It was somebody who was kind of a B actress, I think. So
I can't remember her name. Anyway,
and was she like pregnant with his kid and then or had his kid and then his kid picked up a piano at the end and you were like, because you didn't know it was his kid, spoilers, and he picks up a piano and you're like, oh, okay, yes.
Yeah, there were maybe some problematic things with that movie. I mean, just the fact that she didn't know her kid was Superman's. And apparently her memory had been, because this was supposed to pick up directly after Superman 2. They were kind of cutting 3 and 4 out of it.
As many people would like to.
Yeah. I've got some suggestions for other franchises that should do that.
Yeah, we could make a whole list.
Maybe we will.
Maybe we will.
So write that down. Sequels that should not have happened.
Yeah, right? How we would have done it better.
Yeah. But I actually, I know if you're familiar with Kevin Smith, he always trash talks this when he says it was boring. I liked it because it shows that Superman is a hero, whether he's got powers or not. And it showed, anyway, we'll just cut this a little shorter. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. Apparently nobody else did though.
All right. We got 2 more Supermans to go before the current one.
So
we got to move on. Henry Cavill,
God of nerds. Unfortunately, he was in some Superman movies that we won't.
Zack Snyder.
Oh, no. I feel like you just said Voldemort. He should not be named. I don't think that he understood Superman at all. I don't think he cared to understand Superman at all.
They hired a Brit to play Superman.
Yeah, I mean, I do have problems, but thank God Chris Evans is American. But, and you know what, Henry
Cavill looked like Superman.
Henry Cavill was not the problem with that movie or any of the actors weren't the problem with those movies.
No.
It was the writing was just,
they were dark. They were shot dark. So you're kind of looking and going, what am I seeing? What's going on? And maybe that's okay for Batman, but that's not Superman.
The concept, I think, was not great. And maybe they were trying to draw a contrast with the Marvel movies, but ultimately I think that while you can get away with maybe a kind of a darker comic book movie here and there, overall they need to be fun. There needs to be joy in that comic book movie. We need to remember that this is not, we're not making
film noir.
Yeah, it's not film noir. We are not making for the mainstream comic books, right? Because if you're doing Sin City, then that is dark and whatever. Those, we'll leave that for the independent comics. And
Superman is not dark.
But Superman is not dark. So I'd say the same thing for the vast majority of mainstream comics. Dark is not really their best spot. I mean, Batman has thrived there, but also, God, have we beat that into the ground too. So
Henry Cavill was in 3 movies. He was in Man of Steel, which was in 2013. He was in Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice, which was 2016, and Justice League, which was 2017.
Yeah, with the really bad
CGI he's getting rid of his mustache. Yeah. What movie was he in?
It was one of the Mission Impossibles.
Yeah, he had a mustache and he had to come back and do a reshoot. So they CGI'd his mustache.
Paramount would not let him out of his contract.
It did not look good. It was bad.
It's kind of a new level of petty, because I know that Warner Brothers offered to pay to have someone there to put the fake mustache on him and whatever. And I mean, with an actual fake mustache, if it's done well, I don't think anyone can tell. But
CGIing that mustache out was all bad. They can make dinosaurs in Jurassic Park that look real, but they can't get rid of his mustache. I don't know what to say. It was
Well,
not good.
and Joss Whedon takes a lot of grief for this, but if you're going to blame anyone for that show, for that movie being bad, you've probably got to blame the executives who got rid of Zack Snyder and brought in Joss Whedon. And to be honest, I saw the Zack Snyder cut. That was never going to be a good movie.
And it was really long. How
That's,
long was that movie?
I'll tell you what, you take a mediocre movie, the last thing I want is another hour's worth of
It's like
footage.
4 or 5 hours of it. Yeah. In recent years, I have been 100% Marvel, and I have made some very shitty comments about DC. And we actually went to see Superman with some of our friends who are DC people. And I actually apologized to one of them for my smugness because, man, was this a mic drop. It was such a good movie. I tend to grade movies when I come out. I gave this an A, straight up.
Well, so I grew up a Marvel guy. I collected comics. I was into, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, the X-Men, Alpha Flight, those sorts of comics. And it's interesting that Marvel has this reputation, at least the MCU has this reputation of being like, oh, they're the funny, lighthearted one, and DC is like the grim, dark one, which in the comics is actually kind of it's Marvel was the edgier, more real world sort of comic that our comic book publisher than DC was. So that's kind of where I was coming from. And I've always felt though that I don't care whether you're Marvel or DC, there are certain comic book characters that you should show some respect to, and they're kind of on, the Mount Rushmore of comics, and Superman is absolutely positively one of those. I don't know if you can call yourself a comic book fan if you don't have some love in your heart for Superman, which is why it's been kind of painful to watch some of the recent movies that have been made around him, because they're clearly made by someone who didn't like Superman, and that's a bad choice. That's a bad hire right there. But James Gunn absolutely understands Superman. He
If
understands
I could
the
drop this
character.
mic, I would.
He
James
understands
Gunn.
that Superman is an optimistic. He's a hopeful character. And this. So I've heard a lot of people say nice. That he's just really nice, and this, and I guess that's true. I mean, I didn't come out of it saying, "Oh, he's so nice," but he's clearly so very decent, and he's wearing his heart on his sleeve, which is really refreshing, because we are so cynical, and I'm as guilty of it as anybody. But we are so cynical now. We just, our knee-jerk reaction is to cast aspersions on people's motivations. No matter what they do. Bill Gates gives $1 billion to charity and people are talking trash about him. So it is refreshing to go, and a comic movie should be optimistic. It should be about bringing out the best in people and looking at and Superman certainly is a reflection of what is the best, what could be the best of us.
So let's talk about the guy who's playing Superman.
Okay.
So his name is David Corenswet. And I learned something in the course of my research. He also went to Juilliard.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's
so
cool.
Like Christopher Reeve, he also went to Juilliard.
It's a pipeline for Superman.
Yes. Go to Juilliard. You could be Superman too.
Or Mork.
Yeah. He has done a couple of things that I have not seen. So he starred in a couple of things on Netflix. He was in something called The Politician, and he was also in something called Hollywood. And I don't remember either of those.
Yeah.
So for me, he was brand new.
Yeah.
So does he look like Superman?
Yeah, he looks like Superman. One thing that I kind of like is I think that what's his name? The guy who played Superman before him, Cavill. I think Cavill's a little too buff, because Superman doesn't get his powers from muscles. He gets them from the sun, right? So he doesn't need to work out and have these just insane muscles, though, ladies, I guess that's for you. But and Cornsweat, don't get me wrong, he's in great shape, but he's not you're not oh my God,
he
it's
looks
all muscles.
Tall.
Yes.
I
Rachel Brosnahan looked pretty short next to her. She might be short to begin with.
Yeah, I don't know how tall. Rachel Brosnahan, who we'll get to in a minute, plays Lois Lane, and she looked very short standing next to him. I don't know if she's just short or he's really tall. We can look that up at some point, but he definitely looks like he's well over 6 feet. I mean, he looks like Superman to
Yeah.
me, but his costume looks like a traditional Superman costume. The S looks a little different.
Yeah, they've sort of, it's more angular.
Elongated, yeah.
This is the Christopher Reeve Superman right here. And
Yeah.
probably the classic. I'll bet it's the same
Yeah.
up until the last 20 years when they maybe sort of tried to update it or whatever.
But it's not all dark and textured like the Cavill one
Yeah,
was. And they got rid of the trunks on the Cavill one. It
Yeah,
was
they did
all
not
just
have
like
the
a
trunk.
bodysuit, whereas they went back to having the trunks with this one.
I'm gonna be honest, I didn't notice. I mean, I'm not like, oh, that looks ridiculous, he's wearing trunks. I mean, I saw them, but it just,
Well, we're used to seeing Superman. That's his
Yeah.
outfit.
it was actually a lot less off-putting than nipples on Batman.
Well, that's true. The nipples on Batman were a bad choice. So anyway, I thought he did a great job.
You know that Batman, if it was real Batman and he put nipples on a suit, those would be, he'd have some sort of utility hooked up to those
That's
nipples.
right. Something grappling something or other.
At least little twirly things, you know.
What, pasties?
I don't know.
Tassels?
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought he did a great job. I have a question for you. I asked you this in the movie theater, and I don't know whether you just didn't hear me or were ignoring me. Is the actor who played his father, Jor-El, Bradley Cooper?
Yeah, it was Bradley Cooper.
It was Bradley Cooper.
Yeah.
Because they kind of scruffed him up, and I don't know, it was kind of...
Well, and he wasn't really talking English, or just very
Yeah, he was
briefly
speaking whatever,
was talking
Kryptonian
English.
or whatever
Yeah.
they speak. Yeah.
And I don't know who the mother was. I didn't recognize her.
I didn't either. But yeah, so that his dad was Bradley Cooper. And his dad was sending kind of the initial message that we've heard before about, we sent you to Earth to whatever. Do you remember?
Serve or whatever. Yeah.
And then it kind of goes sideways later on in the film.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
Like Lex Luthor breaks
what was
into
she
the
called?
fortress
The
of
engineer or something? Was that?
Yeah.
And
Has
so,
like a nanotech person that
yeah,
breaks in.
she's able to repair the message, and it turns out that Superman's he's supposed to like breed us out of existence.
Yeah, he's supposed to have a harem. There we go, back to breeding with the human beings. I
Yeah.
guess that was a thing, right?
I am surprised that at no point did Lois Lane bust his chops about that. I mean, because come on, that's funny.
That's true.
Hey, where's my competition? Why didn't I know about this harem thing? There's some material there that they, some low hanging fruit that they just left there.
So let's get to Lois real quick.
Okay.
So the actress who plays Lois is Rachel Brosnahan.
Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Who I love that show. We saw every episode of that show. I've watched it a couple of times.
Like maybe 4
So
or 5
good.
times.
And she was super feisty and spunky and mouthy as Mrs. Maisel, and then went on to be super feisty, spunky, and mouthy as Lois Lane.
Well, and she seems smart too.
She's smart, thoughtful. So what I liked about this particular portrayal of Lois Lane, and just this movie in general, is this movie is not an origins movie. You're not seeing his pod hit the ground in Kansas. You're not seeing his adopted family adopt him. You don't see him as a kid learning to lift up a car. You don't see him meeting Lois. You don't see Lois spending a bunch of time trying to figure out if he's Superman. They're already in a relationship. They dropped us, boom, midstream into Clark/Superman's life.
Well, 3 months. They've been dating for 3 months.
Yeah. And she knew he was Superman. So we didn't have to go through the whole kind of side-eye thing that we've seen. And
something that's kind of funny is that like everyone knew he was Superman.
Did they?
Well, she's like when she's talking to the Green Lantern.
To
Guy
knew.
Gardner, is that his name? But he knew, and he didn't know that she knew, but he still blurted out Clark Kent.
We're gonna get to Green Lantern in a minute because we got a lot to say about Green Lantern.
Yeah,
but
we have a lot to say about everybody.
I think Rachel Brosnahan was an excellent choice for Lois Lane. She's so cute. She's so feisty. She's
The casting is
perfect.
outstanding.
She's fabulous.
The
and
chemistry seemed to be really, really good.
and at one point she comes to his rescue. So good for her.
Yeah.
She saved his ass. So
Well, and that was something that was kind of interesting was Superman, he takes some licks in
oh
this
yeah, he gets his
movie.
ass kicked for at least half the movie. But I thought she did a great job. I thought the casting was great. I want to see more of her. I want to see more Superman. And, James Gunn, if you're out there somewhere, please hire the actress who played Susie in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel to at least have a cameo and have a scene with her because I love her so much. And you could do anything with her.
And that would it'd be funny too.
All right. So who else was in this movie?
Well, so I also kind of want to go
ahead.
back because one of the great things that he did was he did drop Superman. He did start the movie, and he's already in a relationship with Lois Lane. But also, Superman's not the very first superhero in this universe either. The metahumans have been around for a while and sort of talks about that at the very beginning of the movie. And so you've got some superheroes already there. So while this is kind of the tent pole for the new DCU, whatever the heck they're calling it,
the James Gunverse?
Yeah, the Gunverse.
The Gunverse.
I like it.
That's my vote.
But it doesn't seem to put the same pressure on it that, like, Iron Man had no pressure on it because nobody knew who the heck Iron Man was, and there were just not a lot of expectations, right?
Right.
But I think they managed to avoid some of that with this because there's already heroes out there, like the Justice Gang.
Okay, so I said who else is in the movie, so why don't you talk about who's in the Justice Gang?
Well, now we've got Nathan Fillion, who is, one of the nerd gods, right? Maybe the clown prince of nerds.
Yes. And how was he as
he was Guy
Gardner?
Gardner as one of the Green Lantern member of the Green Lantern Corps, and he I'm not reading this, but I do have a source, Tony, who he is my source on most DC things, and he was saying that was pretty comic book accurate, that the guy's a jerk, an arrogant jerk, and man, and
his hair apparently was comic book accurate also.
That I actually can vouch for because I've seen pictures, but Nathan Fillion seems to enjoy playing a jerk as much as anything.
Nathan Fillion, no matter what he's doing, has this Nathan Fillion glint in his eye, and we've been watching Nathan Fillion. Well, when did you start? When did you start watching Nathan Fillion?
So I was a big fan of Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place with Nathan Fillion and Ryan Reynolds back in the late 90s.
Figure out where we can find that on streaming. I
wish I could find that on streaming. I mean, and I love both of those guys too. Ryan Reynolds, I'm a huge fan of that guy.
So Guy Gardner. So there's going to be
a Green Lantern Corps movie in the near future. And they're going to have, I think there's a John Stewart Green Lantern, and then there's why can't I remember the name? There's the classic Green Lantern that I think most Gen Xers probably grew up with, who was the one that Ryan Reynolds played in the Green Lantern movie. So, for you Green Lantern fans out there, did you think that you'd get another bite at that apple, that you're going to get another Green Lantern movie after that one? So, and
apparently there's going to be more Green Lantern. So are there any friends of Nathan Fillion in this movie?
Oh, yes. As a matter of fact, y'all are, I know you guys, all you nerds out there know who Alan Tudyk is, but Resident Alien makes a showing in this movie because you've got Alan is in it.
He's one of the robots.
Yeah, number 4.
Number 4 in the Fortress of Solitude.
And then you've got Mr. Terrific.
Mr. Terrific, who I have never heard of before, but apparently is a DC superhero.
I think James Gunn loves the more obscure heroes, I think. And he really leans into the comic book aspects, which is pretty cool, and it kind of gives these movies a flavor that you don't get from the Avengers movies,
right?
Because those are all mainstream heroes that are in those, and Justice League too, for that though, But up till now, it's been kind of, but leaning into that kind of the weirdness, it really does recapture the flavor as a kid of reading these comic books.
So Mr. Terrific, where have we seen him before?
He's the sheriff
In
in
Resident
Resident
Alien.
Alien.
With Alan Tudyk.
With Alan Tudyk. And there's one other person, isn't there?
I
Or
don't
maybe
think
not.
so.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
But anyway, if you're not watching Resident Alien,
Watch
you should.
it.
It's fairly wholesome, right? I mean, it's family fare and well, I mean, as much as anything is, and, you know,
maybe,
yeah,
I guess.
I think so.
Okay.
I mean, it's got a wink and a nod to adults in there too. I mean, it's not made for kids, but I mean, back when we were kids, nothing was made for kids.
And Nathan Fillion guest starred on Resident Alien.
That's right. That's the third person who is in Resident Alien. Yeah, he played the octopus. For those of you who watch Resident Alien,
those guys like each other. As a matter of fact, they just announced what?
They're going to have a panel at Comic-Con for Resident Alien.
No, but that's no. Nathan Fillion and Alan Tudyk are starting a podcast.
Yeah.
Please don't turn us off and go listen to them. You have time to do both.
Stay away from that competition.
No, we got those are our boys. I think it was called Once We Were Spacemen or When We Were Spacemen.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, Once We Were Spacemen.
Yeah, but it's coming out soon, so I will be listening to that on my drive to work and back. That's gonna be awesome.
That's some good content right there.
That is some good content. Those are some nerds over 40. Those two boys. So yeah.
Tudyk went to Juilliard.
Did he? Okay. See.
Juilliard, man, we wouldn't be having all these comic book movies without Juilliard.
That's right. So anyway, yes. So Alan Tudyk. So who else was? So we want to talk about Lex Luthor.
Yes, Nicholas Hoult is Lex Luthor, and honestly, I would place as a villain. He's one of the best villains I've seen. He is scary. He is convincing.
A little mentally ill, and not in a fun way.
For sure,
not in a fun way.
Well, he's not like Gene Hackman is kind of a rogue. This guy's not a rogue. He's just not out bad guy.
Yeah, he has left the reservation. He is pissed,
completely amoral. But I think that this is going to end up being, going forward, the definitive Lex Luthor. I would put his Lex Luthor up against. I mean, I put it up against Heath Ledger's Joker.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
he was good.
He's good. Anyway, I think that Nicholas Hoult was amazing.
He was, and he has some past comic book cred. He was the Beast, right?
Beast
in X-Men.
And X-Men First Class, and some of the others that came after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought
he's made some money on genre films.
But the casting in this was great. I really like the portrayal of Superman's Earth parents.
Yes.
And I actually teared up a couple of times. And every time I did, I thought, frickin' James Gunn, man. I got to cry in every James Gunn Superman.
Always brings the heart.
He absolutely does.
And finally, one of his characters has a good parent.
Yeah.
I mean, because, you know, Gamora has Thanos.
Yeah.
You know, Star-Lord has Ego, and you know, there's just parental issues abounding in that group. But
yeah, well, Superman's birth parents didn't come off very well in this either.
It turns out that they weren't great people. But man, there's a great scene where Clark is he's having breakfast on a bench watching the sunrise on the farm in Kansas, and his dad comes out and sits down next to him, and he can see that Clark is really upset by the things that came out about his parents' message, that, you know, he's there to breed the humans away or something,
and rule them.
Let's be honest, there are some ladies out there who would be in line for that. But anyway, and rule the humans, and he is upset because he thought he was sent here to be the good guy, and that's kind of the center of the movie. I think that was really when Superman gets rejuvenated by the sun, but by God, his conversation with his dad, that is what, that did more for him than all the solar rays, and, you know, that he soaked up did.
And it's the nature versus nurture debate, where was he born to be this ruling creature, but then like the influence of his parents in Kansas and how sweet and wonderful they are. It just I like the scene where his mother said, I shined your boots for you.
Well, and she kept calling his dad Mush,
Yeah,
because he's
she's making fun of him
and
because he kept tearing up, and every time he'd tear up, I'd tear up.
well, and this actor too. I was really happy because this actor
Yeah,
usually plays like a serial killer
yeah,
or sort of a creepy kind of character. He was he was in Constantine. He played a priest in Constantine who was vague, kind of psychic. He played a serial killer, I think, in the X-Files.
yeah. I think he was.
But he's got and I think he's played serial killers and other things too.
Yeah, you definitely have gotten a creepy vibe from him in the past, but he was wonderful.
Well, I
in
think
this.
he's got an astigmas where his eyes they sort of will vibrate back and forth, and I think they've played that up in other movies, to kind
Mhm.
of make him seem, kind of creepy. You don't really see that here, but he was. It was. I think that was probably a nice moment for him to be able to play, a good guy for a change.
So one of my favorite characters in this, and one that so I had seen the preview for this, and I know you avoid previews a lot of the time. I had seen the preview, and I'm like, oh, Super Dog, Crypto. And I expected him to be this like amazing come to save the day dog because in the preview, he's dragging Superman back to the Fortress of Solitude and taking care of him. And I thought he was just going to be like a straight ahead, the dog version of Superman. And oh, no, 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 no. That dog needs obedience training in the worst
Yeah, he
way.
has a problem
He
with
is
boundaries.
a bad
Yeah.
dog. That dog is out of control,
Hey,
man.
but he kind of saved the day,
He
though.
did, but only because they tricked him into it. Go get the toy and destroy it. Like that dog, it was nuts.
I tell you that was
Yeah.
that was one of the best scenes where Superman is going back and forth with Lex Luthor, and then he's like, "Yeah, I got a secret weapon here. Crypto, get the toy."
Yeah.
And Lex Luthor is just losing his mind.
Oh yeah, no, the dog like stole the show in every scene he was in,
Yeah.
and it was completely not what I expected him to be. And I'm like, there's James Gunn again, like that. He was not a good dog. I don't know how he was in the comics, but in the movie, he did. Yeah, the dog was a little out of control.
Yeah, he needed discipline
Which
school.
brings me to another character I was excited to see because I mistakenly, I think we all did, thought that he was Superman's dog, right?
Yeah.
So what happens at the very end? No, Supergirl shows up. I'm like, oh, okay. And I think she was drunk, right? When she showed up.
Well, he said that she said she goes to party on red sun, solar systems, planets with a red sun so that she can get drunk.
Yeah. And didn't she call him a bitch or something?
Yeah. She called Superman a bitch.
And I recognized her, and it was driving me nuts because I was looking at her and I'm like, I know her. I've seen her in something recently. I can't place it. So Tony, who we've mentioned a couple of times, surreptitiously looked her up on his phone during the credits, and her name is Millie Alcock, and she is in Sirens on Netflix. If you ever watched that with Julianne Moore, it's current. It's on right now. It's a current show. And I had watched a bunch of episodes with her in that. And so when I saw her, I was like, I know that face. But the way she portrayed Supergirl, that's going to be a fun movie too. If they do a Supergirl movie, she's funny.
Yeah, I think that I really think what James Gunn is doing that's really smart is he's not chasing critical acclaim. I mean, he's gonna get a fair amount because he's making entertaining movies, but he's looking to make fun movies.
Yeah,
and ultimately that's where I think the Academy Awards just has gotten it so wrong over the years, where if it's not entertaining, then what's the point?
right.
I mean, these movies that get Academy Awards, they're slogs, and a lot of them, I mean, they're only entertaining maybe in the most intellectual sense, but they don't. Nobody sees them.
Well, I remember one year you and I decided we were going to go see all the movies that have been nominated for Best Picture, and that was the most miserable freaking experience. It was like that one with the billboards.
Where billboards outside of
whatever.
Yeah, Mississippi.
I mean, it was just, and we have never done that again. We're like, peace out. We do not need to see all of this stuff that's nominated.
Well,
because
I didn't.
I'm going to watch what I want to watch.
I didn't think that was a terrible. Actually, I thought it was a good movie. I thought the acting was great. I love Sam Rockwell. My problem was is that the movie felt like a chapter where I want to see the whole story. But then we
It was
also
not memorable for me.
I think that was the year that Shape of Water won, and I love Guillermo del Toro, and that's a terrible movie. It's a terrible movie. The plot is recycled. It's E.T., it's Short Circuit, it's Free Willy. I mean, that is a movie that has been done.
I mean, there have been some good ones, like Oppenheimer. I thought was a good movie.
Well, Oppenheimer, it was viewable. I mean, it was a
Robert
good movie.
Downey Jr.
It was a good movie, but just making him watchable is
Yeah,
the threshold for a watchable movie and being in the Academy Awards is it at the very least they should be watchable, but so many of these just aren't.
agree,
You know?
agree. But Superman Legacy
Was very watchable. I love the scene where you see he's in his house, he's in his apartment, and Lois is there, and you see the Justice Gang battling the dimensional. Was it a pixie or gremlin or something like that?
I don't know what it was.
It was looked like a
Looked
big
like-
eyeball in the
Looked
sky,
like Laser
right?
Floyd.
And it was
to go
shooting,
back
yeah,
to a
lasers.
previous
And she's
episode.
like, and Lois is like, shouldn't you be out there? And he's like, oh no, they've got it. And by not having, I think I did talk about how not having, it doesn't put all that pressure. You've got a world out there that's independent of Superman. And I think that is the best thing that they did in this movie to lead into other DCU movies, is that you don't actually have to see it on screen for it to happen, and honestly, I think that's kind of the underpinnings of the Lord of the Rings, is that Tolkien wrote all this stuff that nobody saw until well after his death, but that was the underpinnings for this book. I think that gives it more richness and more flavor, and that's also really where Star Wars went wrong, because they got rid of all the Star Wars extended universe before they made Episode 7. So I've gone way off the tracks, but there we go.
You're a nerd. That's what happens. So what grade would you give this movie?
I give it an A. I give it a solid A.
I would too.
It was baseline. It was entertaining. It was fun. I love the actors, and I thought they were great. It made me laugh. It made me not quite cry, but there were emotional moments in it. It was.
This is a nerd certified movie.
Yeah,
I certify this. DC came back. I've seen a lot of DC properties that I just was not excited by, and this one, we talked a little bit about Marvel. A lot of the recent Marvel stuff has not seemed fun. I didn't enjoy it as much. This one I enjoyed every bit as much as most of the Marvel movies that I've liked.
I would
put it.
I'd put it in the top half of the Marvel movies.
I put it in maybe the top third. Or
there have been between how many Marvel movies have there been?
Let's not try to count that up.
Yeah,
We don't have another 45 minutes. That's a whole different episode.
Yeah,
we could do a Marvel.
Okay, I think that's fair enough. I think the top third of Marvel movies would be where that's at. I thought it was an entertaining movie. I think it spoke to the parts of us that we all wish we were better at. Kindness, and
I think it was hopeful.
It was hopeful.
It had some things to say. We're not going to get into politics on this podcast, but James Gunn definitely had some things to say and said them with this movie.
Well, I also enjoyed that it spoke to, I think, the frustrations that a lot of us have, that there is no easy button in real life, and Superman is frustrated throughout a lot of this movie. He can't even break up a war without kind of being the bad guy a little bit, right? And I think, and he's just sort of blindsided during that interview, because that concept just never occurred to him. And I don't think he was a bad guy for doing what he did, but he wasn't, for a lot of us, it's very hard to articulate right and wrong sometimes, and I think that I think that is going to speak to a lot of people, because our world, we are surrounded by frustrations. There is no easy way to do so many things. And I think that social media kind of plays into that we feel like, well, everyone agrees with me, so why isn't it like this? It's like, because social media is lying to you. because you're getting an algorithm that tells you what you want to hear.
Right.
Um, so
Well, and I think, our viewers are just getting to know us. I always say that Neil has a hero complex. He's the good guy. When he plays World of Warcraft, he's Alliance. You know, in Harry Potter, he's Gryffindor.
well,
He's not
but let's be
Slytherin.
clear, because the Horde is not necessarily bad guys.
No, I
But
know, but you know what I
yeah,
mean.
yeah,
Um, he wants to be the hero, and it's hard to find someone who is more stereotypically heroic than Superman.
yeah, for sure.
Superman is, the Marvel version would be Captain America, right?
Well, I mean, or Peter Parker.
Yeah.
I mean, Peter Parker. This is a whole nother episode, but I think the reason I love Peter is that he doesn't have money. He doesn't have very much, and a lot of times, what he does have is relationships, the money. He makes sacrifices to do the right thing, because one time he didn't do the right thing, and terrible, terrible consequences ensued. But Peter Parker, he will always do the right thing to his own detriment,
Right.
and that is, he doesn't. Members of the Avengers get a paycheck. Peter Parker doesn't get a paycheck, or
Right.
at least Spider-Man doesn't get a paycheck for being a superhero. He's having to. He can't even write off the cost of his web shooters and the web filling, right? So
Well, and we are digressing, but I'm glad that they're making another Superman or Spider-Man movie, because leaving him in his dumpy apartment with everybody forgetting him was not a place that I wanted to leave Spider-Man. So I'm glad that we're gonna
well,
see that
I'm actually
go on.
excited, because I think we're going to see a Spider-Man that's more comic book accurate than any Spider-Man we've seen before, because you couldn't really, the way that the MCU kind of came out, you couldn't really do it that way. But now we're going to see a Spider-Man who's out on his own. I think he's enrolled in college. But he's going to one of the New York universities, not going to MIT.
Mhm.
So yeah, I do think, and for most of the run of Spider-Man, he was kind of either in or out of college, because he did drop out a few times. But I think that's going to be more the Spider-Man that like when I was in junior high and high school, that I was reading.
All right. So back to Superman.
Back to Superman.
So to wrap this up, high praise for this movie. High praise for James Gunn. What a coup it was for DC to get him, and what an asset he's going to be going forward.
What a great choice. I mean, it's a shame that Marvel lost him, but honestly, Marvel didn't. That position is filled at Marvel. They've got Kevin Feige. So, good for him. And you know what? I talk trash about everything, but about DC. But DC fans and Superman, they deserve
They do.
They deserve quality content. They deserve entertaining movies. And I'm glad that finally, actually, I'm going to say finally, because I think the last DC movie that was good was Wonder Woman, the first one, not the second one.
Some people would say Aquaman.
No, Aquaman, it was entertaining, but by God, it was not good.
Okay. I'm looking forward to seeing who's James Gunn Wonder Woman.
That's going to be interesting.
Comic books I read as a kid were Wonder Woman.
It doesn't. I don't think that's really a point of emphasis for him. I haven't seen anywhere where he talks about running Wonder Woman back out. So,
but I mean, who are the big three, right? Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. You can't have a Justice League without a Wonder Woman.
Well, the thing is that are they going to do a Justice League?
Well, they showed the Hall of Justice. Spoilers in
but
this
that's
movie.
where the Justice Gang is hanging out.
Yeah, but they're not. I mean,
in
this
Batman
feels
and Superman,
like world building.
Batman and Superman have trouble living in the same universe. Because there's such different takes on the genre.
I just feel like this may be world building. I'm hoping it's world building. And I mean, just as a female, it's nice to occasionally get a female superhero.
Well, so which of the Batman that we've seen would be a better fit with the Superman we just saw?
No, not Affleck.
Oh, certainly. And I think Affleck was fine. All those actors, the problem was the script, not them. I'm just going to throw that out there yet again. Maybe Michael Keaton?
I love Michael Keaton.
I think probably he would be a better. I mean, I'm not suggesting that we bring Michael Keaton, in to do it, but that sort of take on Batman
Yeah, he was
was a
fun.
little bit
He was
more
fun.
in keeping with. And I know people would lose their minds to think that Tim Burton, made a more comic book accurate, Batman than like. And then you know what? I don't read Batman, so who knows? Maybe these
Well,
grimdark
maybe
Batmans
James
are.
Gunn will do what he did with this one and bring somebody new in,
I'm sure. Oh, I'm 100% sure he's going to. Well, no,
which worked well for this.
they're making another Batman with Pattinson, aren't they?
I don't know.
I think they are. And that last one was really dark. I mean, I do approve of Nirvana in the credits, but
We'll be talking about Batman in the future, I'm sure. And we'll be also talking about Pattinson during our vampire episode, so stay tuned for that. We're gonna all of October are gonna be creepy episodes, just as a quick preview. So we're gonna do a Stranger Things episode. We're gonna do a vampire episode. We're gonna do probably like a movie monster episode. And I'm not sure what else, but all of October is creepy here. So maybe a Stephen King episode. I think that'd be fun.
yeah, I'd be down for Stephen King.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you can't be Gen X and not talk about Stephen King. So
yeah.
yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah. So the quick preview.
What are we doing next episode?
We're talking about maybe Jurassic because we haven't seen that movie, and we're talking about maybe going to see it this week. So possibly Jurassic. If it's not that, I'm not sure what it's going to be.
Yeah,
maybe a surprise.
For those of you who've made it this far in our podcast, drop some suggestions. What would you like
we'd love to get
about?
some inspiration. So if you guys think of anything, just drop it down. We are leaving a week from Tuesday to head south. We live in Santa Cruz, and we will be heading to San Diego for Comic-Con.
Yes.
And we're going to be filming footage there. So we're going to be talking about the line, the exhibit hall, the exclusives, what's coming out, Hall H, maybe Ballroom 20 if we sneak into Ballroom 20 for some stuff.
Yeah.
I'm a Tiki fan, and there's some Tiki stuff going on, so I'm stoked about that. And we're also going to be interviewing some of our friends who are going to be future guest stars on this podcast. We have someone who's going to be doing a Supernatural / The Boys. We've got a Dungeon Master who's going to be doing our D&D episode. We have some friends who are really into the Anne Rice verse.
When they're also budding
screenwriters in Los Angeles, and
we definitely want to get them on the show before they're too big to be on the show.
Yeah, I always tell them that I'm going to tell everyone that I knew them when and brag about them. So they're twins, Gina and Lisa. So shout out to them. You're going to enjoy their episode. They're awesome. So
I always do.
Yeah, Neil likes to argue with them. He has had many, many, many arguments at Comic-Con with the two of them.
Well, that's the beauty, though, is that we argue with each other, but we enjoy the argument. It's it's always respectful. So
yeah, we'll have a lot of preview stuff coming out of Comic-Con, and we're going to show you Comic-Con. If you've never been, we're going to show you what it looks like and do a deep dive. But we're going to have one more episode released before our Comic-Con stuff.
Fingers crossed.
So in the meantime, if you have not seen it, go see Superman. Get a big bucket of popcorn and get ready for a great comic book movie because it's so much fun.
It is.
It is so much fun.
Yeah, I think I said this before. The baseline for a comic book movie is that it should be fun.
Yeah.
And they certainly achieved it.
This is summer blockbuster. Eat the popcorn and have a great time. Go with your friends. Go with your kids. It's a fabulous, fabulous movie. So until next time, Nerdmigos, thank you so much for joining us again. We hope to see you next time. And until then, live long and prosper.